Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the West Bend Community Memorial Library Board for Tuesday, March 16th. Call to order and the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I would like to call for the approval of the agenda. Joanne, second. Cindy, was that you? Tim, okay. Okay, I knew it was in that direction. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I would like to call for to call for the approval of the consent agenda.
I move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Do we have any discussion? I have discussion.
Oh, okay.
And that's why I said, unfortunately, the portion where we, the board, voted, it was section 9C. It says building fund account. We actually had a motion and an approval to move that money into the city fund, okay? And it isn't reflected. It's just saying, it's saying amendment, and it just said Joseph reported on it. So if we could get that changed before we do that. And Cindy sent me her minutes, so Cindy, if you could send the minutes to Steve, it lists who said the motion and who seconded the motion. It was just one of those things. Okay, so now I would like to ask for an amended motion or a motion to approve the the approval of the expenditures and the minutes for January 19th with the changes that I stated.
I'll do it again.
Thank you, Karen. Second?
I'll second.
Joanne, motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Good, motion carries. Thank you. Okey-doke. Financial reports, Joseph.
Thank you. We have money for the most part, except for the outreach fund, which should get money. They usually fall behind schedule, so.
Yeah, the outreach comes, the big portion of outreach usually comes from Washington County, and they vote on that in like the May timeframe. So
Yeah.
for the first few months, that fund normally works in arrears.
Mhm.
And that's part of the reason why we have, some of it we put in a restricted, but we've left 22,000 in the fund balance, because that's where they actually pull the money for the costs of outreach.
Yeah, so there's that. That's really the only big thing. There were a few checks that went out on the unrestricted account for programs.
Did you want to mention that you finally got?
Yeah, I should have access to the Money Mac or the whatever market linked CD account. It was a little bit of a headache and going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
We had to, BMO kept sending us forms to sign.
And we're going to have to do more.
And there's going to be another one coming?
Well, yeah, because they're changing their name and going to a new like they're rebranding their website and stuff. And basically, we need a whole new account number. But she said that everyone's going to have to do that who's a member of BMO Financial. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was a learning experience.
It was interesting. Yeah.
They were going to send us documents. The first time they sent us the documents, there was one set. We had them sent to the library, and then we went in and signed them, and then UPS them back. Well, then there was another set that had to be signed, and the gal, Rachel,
Yep.
she said, well, we could do it electronically. Well, in order to do it electronically, they have to send you an email, and then you go into a certain website to authorize it. Well, you know me, from my security background, I didn't want that that link to come to my library account, because they were asking confidential information, and if it's on my library email account, that would be open to public records. So it was like, we're doing all this stuff, unbelievable. But we
Yeah.
got it done. Now we
We
got to
did.
do it again.
Yep.
Now we got to do it again.
And I did ask last week, well, this week, I asked about the minutes and whether or not we'd need minutes for money transfers, and they said no. That technically there's not really any way, at least in their current system. She said potentially in 6 months, once everything's moved over to the new system, there might be a way to do that. But so I said I'd reach out in midsummer to double check that. But
All right, well, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for taking the time to do that. Any questions for Joseph on the finances? The only thing that I'd like to just mention is that next month, we will have on the agenda, we should be getting the information from the city once they've finished the audit on how much money we have in our carryover from last year. So that'll be something we'll be putting on next month's agenda.
yeah, Carrie said they're doing the audit this week, so.
Okay, good. Thank you. Any other questions for Joseph? If not, we will move on, and we'll get that second line removed from the 5. It's just a duplication. Public comment. Thank you for the public comment. Library Director's Report. Steve.
Thanks. I've got a few things. As you said, the audit's going on this week, so that we should know a little bit more next week. And then I'll start talking to our accounting people and seeing how we want to set things up for next year, because I have some ideas. And it was my first, my first week working with the system for the minutes and the agenda, so there are some mix-ups there. So still learning, and it's getting better every day, so that's great. Staff has been allowed to get vaccines through Washington and Ozaukee County, so they asked me to send them a list, and about 15 staff members, I believe, have taken us up on that, so they're getting vaccinated.
They're all doing okay?
So far, no problems have been reported. There will be a day that we're going to cross our fingers and hope things go well, because so many got vaccinated on the same day, and if they have effects on the second shot, that might affect our staffing for the following day. But Brad and I can probably handle it on our own. Just kidding. Not really. But the other item that I wanted to mention that's coming up, and I believe it's mid-May, and I was just looking for my email to confirm, we will have photos from the students at the high school in a class. There'll be some photo displays of their work, their portfolio of sorts, so that's exciting. The friends will meet on the 24th to finalize some paperwork and hopefully get things rolling as a friends group. They won't be a 501c3 for a while. It'll take some while for that paperwork to come through, but we're going to get our articles of incorporation done on that day, hopefully, and some bylaws adopted. We've been investigating self-checkouts, and we've got quotes from, I believe, 4 vendors. And then I talked to Brad about a tool that we can maybe use to make our own that we'll investigate a little bit on. I believe it's the solution that Germantown currently uses, but we'll get back to you on that. The staff had our second staff meeting with me, scared them a little bit, but I used a term that I guess had negative connotations, and I didn't think about that when I used it, so I had to explain myself after the fact. But we're all working really hard, and the problem is we aren't working towards a singular focus yet, because there's been some lacking guidance in that regard. So I said it's kind of a little bit like anarchy, and I shouldn't have used that term, I guess. It didn't mean it as a revolution. I meant it as a like an unattended garden, like my house. But we are going to work on getting our collection philosophy together. That's one of our to-do list items. So I will be pushing that so that we all are knowledgeable about what everybody else is doing and working in the same direction to get through the challenges that we have. I think I can leave it at that. I can do the rest of this some other day.
Just staffing, where do we stand? I know we'll be down
Yeah.
two custodians.
Yeah,
So-
we're still struggling to find custodians. We will be moving our current part-time custodian to a new position in next month. So that's the plan, so long as it goes well for that person. And then we'll be trying to figure out what to do with custodians. And we did investigate an option of having a service for 3 days a week and potentially having that person work 2 jobs until we find a regular custodian.
Are we down any other positions?
Circulation, I think, is still down. Somebody who was on a long-term leave will be coming back in mid-April, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So that will help, and that will relieve some of the stress, because the staff are feeling a little stressed with the shortage of hands. But there's always going to be some kind of flux there, and hopefully that's going to get better in time.
Okay.
We'll see.
Steve, can you explain just a brief thing about the self-checkout thing? Are you talking about like another machine? Because we had visited that several months ago.
Yeah. So we currently have 2 self-checkouts. They're barcode machines, and they work with the EM tattle tape. One of them works. The other one's just sitting there with a sign that says permanently out of order,
Yeah.
I believe. So we want to replace those with updated machines and then expand on that so that we can have more options for people to use self-check that work nicely for them. So that's the plan. We talked about looking at going with a different system with an RFID tag system. The machines that we had quoted have that option, but they also have the barcode option. If we do an RFID tagging program, where it's going to cost a little bit more for the tags. It's 13 cents per item for the tags. So that adds up to quite a bit when we're looking at a collection our size. In our system, we don't have that many people who have done RFID tagging. And there can be some cost savings through mechanization of returns or other tools with RFID, but at this time I don't think it's really feasible for us to spend the kind of money that they quoted me originally for that. So we're going to look at just the self-checkouts and then go from there.
Okay, thanks.
The plan.
And when Steve had brought up the idea of the self-check, one of his plans is that if we get the self-check to be utilized more, then the circulation staff can be out with the public in the library, helping people around that way. So, that's what he'll put together, a document regarding that
Okay.
when we look at it. But yeah, it's not like we're going to get new machines and we'll have the same
Yeah.
circ people there. They're going to be doing other things. assisting.
We'll be transitioning them to library assistants, I think is the best term I can find without being a circulation assistant. They do a lot of things beyond the circulation right now, or have been trained to do so, so I'm looking at doing more cross-training, and they can do a lot more for us in the library if they're allowed to leave the circulation desk. And
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Steve? No. Okay, number 8, Library Board President's Report. 2 things I wanted to say. First of all, next month, in addition to talking about the fund balances, we also will have the bylaws on. So Joanne has updated the bylaws, and I've gone through them, and they're fine. Did you get a copy of those, Steve?
Yep.
Can you just send those out to
Yep.
the board members prior, as soon as, so we can look at them, and I don't think there should be any issues, but this way you can have a real advanced time to look at them before next month's meeting. Okay. The other thing that I had on is, I'm thinking of putting back on our agenda, some of us have been on the board long enough to remember, we used to do a thing called like Library 101, where every month we do just a 10-minute or 15-minute talk on some part of the library, like what does circulation do? What are transfers in and out, and that. So I'm gonna be working with Steve to put together a little document. So if you have anything you really want to know about right away, like what is the top priority? And I know one of our top priorities probably should be a better understanding of the budgets, but Steve and I have to work on that we get a good understanding before we can help everybody else. But I think that's something we'll start talking about, not long, short time, short amount of time, have maybe some handouts so that everybody can start getting a better feel for some of this stuff. Because some of the stuff we talk about, I'm sure acronyms, you probably don't even know half the acronyms we're talking about. So we'll work on that. Any questions for me? Nope, okay. Number 9, old business, Monarch Library System update.
I can say, all I can really say is that Kimberly Young has decided to move on to another role.
Oh,
So if you know some good people, somebody good that could do that job, I hope they find somebody who understands Wisconsin law and Wisconsin libraries, because we are a little unique in the library world.
Right.
But
So they'll be putting together a group from Monarch that will be looking for a new director. I mean, I think in the last, 3 years we've gone through, this is our third director, and so, tough job.
I don't know if it is, but
I don't know either, but otherwise there isn't anything else really on Monarch that has occurred. That was pretty.
okay.
Any questions regarding Monarch? Excuse me. Nope. Okay. New business. Number 8, outreach department traveling laptop purchase.
yeah, this would be from the outreach funds. We'd be purchasing a laptop for Nancy to do her work outside the library and give her the option of using Polaris for the client or Leap, which we're looking at the two options. We might see a cost savings next year potentially with our subscription to Polaris, but if more people use Leap. But this gives her that option to use the regular client. And Brad went through the numbers and came up with our best estimate of what it would cost to do that.
So would this request be coming out of the fund balance or the restricted fund balance?
The outreach fund balance.
Right,
Is that-
outreach, but we have two. We have a operating expense fund that we have a fund balance of 22,000. I know we're running in the negative. Is the request coming from the 100,000 that we have in the restricted fund balance? I
Yeah,
think
let's do that.
it would be the restricted? Okay. And again, the restricted fund balance, that 100,000, is restricted only because it can only be spent on outreach purchases. That's the restriction. So we couldn't say, we want to take 50,000 from that and put it in the building fund.
Yep.
That's a restricted fund.
That would fall under the outreach program by using that computer in other
Yeah,
locations.
that would be her traveling computer. She has one desktop, but she's often on the road. And she'll have an assistant our assistant that we're hiring will probably be on the road as well, so they'll need to have a computer for that purpose.
Just a question. How has, because of COVID, I know we've changed some things, but I know we're going to the senior places. Do you have any idea how the circulation is? Has it picked up with COVID, or?
It's in flux, but some places are opening up again for her to come in. I know we're going to do a deposit collection at one place that didn't allow her in before, but she's now going to be allowed to go to the second floor to do a deposit collection. Things have slowed down from COVID overall, but they'll pick up again, I'm sure.
Any other questions? So you're looking for a motion to approve taking $1,500 out of the restricted fund balance in the outreach fund 128 category.
Yes, please.
So moved.
Thanks, Tim.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. This might be a record. Jess, when you filled in for me, you had a record, but I think I just broke it.
It's okay, I'll let you have it.
The next regular meeting will be April 20th, and it will be here also in the City Hall chambers unless otherwise denoted. Is there a task list?
Yes. Cindy's going to email Steve the minutes, and Steve's going to change the verbiage for the fund balance and send up bylaws to board to view before next month.
Okay. Anything else? One other thing I did forget to mention, Steve did get our cake pans out. I saw it on
Nice.
Facebook and I've already had 2 women call me and say thank you.
Aww.
So there's people
That's
out there that
cool.
want to use those cake pans.
The
With
little
that,
things in life.
yes, with that, it is 6:51 and we are adjourned.